Hey guys, thanks for joining me. My name is Jo. I'm the head barista from Nestle Professional. I'm going to show you how to make a great espresso coffee. So who is the roaster guy? Accor and Nestle set out in 2015 to reinvent the coffee experience in hotels. To meet this new market, Nestle Professional created the roaster guy and launched it into Accor hotels in November 2016. The roaster guy is a passionate barista, roaster and traveler, which makes it the perfect match for your Accor hotel experience. There are 3 blends under the roaster guy: the most premium Merchant's Vice, Traveler's Pick and Wanderer's Brew. We also have a single origin, which is 100% Arabica from Colombia. We're very excited. Our 3 blends are Rainforest Alliance certified, which means it is sustainably sourced. So before you start a coffee service, here are the equipment you'll need: grinder, tamper, tamping mat, a knock tube, obviously your espresso machine, crockery, timer, angle brush, milk jugs. Let's double check if the grinder is clean. Look inside where the chamber is and see if there's any old grinds. If there is, all you need to do is just flush it out. Now, let's have a look at the espresso machine. In order to make a great coffee, your espresso machine needs to be clean. First of all, have a look at the gauges here. Steam arm should be 0.9 bar pressure, and your grip heads 8 to 10 bars of pressure. Let's get into back flushing. What is back flushing? This is what we call a blind filter. This is actually a barista's best friend. Why? Because it will let you know if your grip heads are clean or not. Why it's called blind? Because there's actually no holes in there. All you need to do is lock this baby in, press whichever cycle. What this purpose does, it actually runs water into the blind and flushes back up into the shower screen to give it a little bit of a clean. Give it maybe 3 or 4 seconds, stop it, unlock it, and let's have a look at the water. If there is residual grind into the blind filter, it means your shower screen is dirty. Keep doing that method until the water runs clear. If it's not clear, don't start making a coffee yet. So we're going to get to dosing and tamping. First of all, fresh beans into the hopper. Say if it's not a busy morning, fill it only halfway because coffee does oxidize. And what you can do is seal this up and put it in an airtight container. Second step, make sure this little gauge is wide open so the beans actually drop through into the blades. And now we're ready to start grinding. First of all, unlock your grip handles, give it a purge. Why this is important? Because it flushes out all the old grinds from the previous cup. Now come over here. Wipe your grip handles each time because equipment needs to be clean. So we're going to put the grip handle underneath the chamber, the grinder. Give it a sweep. As you can see, this is an 18-gram basket. We need to fill it up with 18 grams, 18 to 20 grams of coffee. The grinder is already pre-calibrated. Every single nodule here is 7 grams. So we need to sweep it 3 times until you form a little mountain. Not a big mountain, just a little hill. Collapse it twice on the platform here so coffee grind settles. Evenly distribute and scoop off the remaining. Do it in a concave manner like the curve of a butter knife. We need to apply at least 15 to 20 kilos of pressure. How do you know if it's 15 to 20 kilos? You should be able to turn your grip handle upside down without the puck coming out. And that's when you know you've got enough coffee in there. And another way to identify is there's always a line in your basket. Tamp it and dose it until it comes up to that line. And you'll know you've got the perfect dose. Another key thing to remember, it has to be leveled. If your tamping is uneven, what happens? Water will come unevenly and hits the coffee beds, and it'll probably come out of this spout or this spout first. So this is why it's very important to have a level tamp. So now we're happy with the dose and the tamp, we lock it in. But before we do so, once grip handle is locked into the grip heads, we need to extract right away. Why? Because machine is at 90+ degree. If you lock it in and go over there, have a chit chat over here, the coffee will start burning. So it must be extracted right away within 5 to 7 seconds. So if your extraction is aligned, you should see the 3T coming through in your espresso. It consists of the crema, the body, and the heart. The most important part is the crema, especially from a roasting ground coffee. It is where all the sweetness, the essential oil is. Without the crema, it means something went wrong. You're not in line with the recipe. Start again. Once we finish extraction, it is actually very important to remove the pot straight away and give it a purge. And wipe the grip handles and put it back on. And you've completed your step. So these are the key things you need to remember when you're brewing. 17 to 20 grams of coffee within 25 to 30 seconds pour rate. Extraction should be 30 mils. So let's get on to the fun stuff. Everybody loves a bit of milk texturing. When you first start off, it can be very daunting because milk can scream. But guys, I will teach you ways to position the steam on to get that whirlpool happening. And the key things to look for when you're steaming milk is milk within the range of 60 to 65 degrees, nice micro bubbles, and creating the necessary foam for whatever beverage you're serving. Here are the 3 sizes of milk jugs. You have the 1 liter, 600 and 350. Guys, when you're starting off steaming milk or making coffee, I would suggest never to use this little baby one, simply because it heats up too fast. You don't have time to control. This one is your best bet. Yeah, this is 600. It will nicely give you 2 8-ounce dining cups. Yeah, and the most common mistake people make is if they put too much milk in the milk jug, it will overflow by the time they create the volume and bring it up to temperature. And if you don't put in enough milk, the milk will start screeching. It's not able to create that whirlpool. And you probably see the milk jump up and down as well. Rule of thumb, always fill your milk just a little bit over this crevice, and this will be the ideal level. Before we start steaming, make sure we have 2 different color cloths, one purely for the counter and one purely for steaming. What we need to do before we start is make sure equipment is hot. This is what we call a purge, by releasing any of the condensation built up. Yeah, because at the end of the day, we don't want to introduce water into the milk, we only want to apply steam. So when you're steaming, always hold your jug parallel to the counter. Yeah, the steam arm nestle into the spout. And this is the perfect positioning. Always make sure don't submerge your steam wand all the way and touching the bottom, because the milk will start screaming. Always submerge it around the tip. The more exposed your tip is, the more aeration you're going to give off, and that's when you create more volume. Never position the steam wand directly in the middle of the milk. Why? Because the milk will jump up and down. Always position it to the side, but never touching the side. If it's on the side, it will push the milk into that whirlpool motion. Once you finish steaming milk, always wipe off your steam wand, push it in, cloth in front, and give it a purge to release any of the milk that would have caught up into the arms. Let's talk about aerating of the milk. For example, a cappuccino obviously have a lot more foam than you would your flat white. So we need to aerate the milk a little bit more if we're preparing a cappuccino. And how we do that is by kissing the milk. When we're kissing the milk, that's when volume is being applied. And guys, let's hear out for that sound it's gonna make. For example, if you don't hear that kissing noise, all you need to do is pull the jug down a bit and expose this tip a little bit more. Once you believe you've increased enough volume, we can just let it sit. This is what we call babysitting the milk to bring it up to temperature. And a nicely textured milk should resemble glossy, thick paint. Here's a little recap on the do's and don'ts when it comes to milk texturing. Do's, remember to purge before and after steaming, and make sure your steam wand is always clean. To achieve great milk texture, make sure the steam wand is positioned correctly in the jug. Your milk should reach between 60 and 65 degrees. Don'ts, don't under or overfill it. Make sure you fill your jug with the right amount of milk. Don't let the steam wand touch the side or the bottom of the jug. Milk shouldn't be screaming when stretching. And always remember to keep the jug stationary after aeration. piccolo and a macchiato. While that's expressing, we can start on milk texturing. So essentially a macchiato is a dollop of milk foam, and a piccolo means it's a small latte. And push. Alright. So we're going to make the macchiato first. Just a dollop of foam. And we're going to pour the piccolo. Before we pour, always move your milk a little bit, because keep in mind, foam sits on top. So introduce it, lower your jug, give it a little bit of jiggle cross, and we've got a piccolo right there. And when piccolo settles, it should just come up to the arch. So we're going to be making a cappuccino and a flat white. So while that's doing its job, we can get onto the milk. Submerge. Because when making a cappuccino, we need to aerate the milk a little bit more. Milk 60-65. Wipe down and purge. Alright, this is what we call a high and low pour, and this is a perfect example we're pouring a cappuccino and a flat white. So with a cappuccino, you want to do low and fast. Keep in mind, foam sits on top, so if you do it low, the foam will come out first. Always circulate your milk to incorporate it first. That's your cappuccino. And guys, always pour your frothiest coffee first. And then a flat white. So if you want to do a basic love heart, 45-degree angle with your ceramic cup, tip to the middle of the crema, drop it in 5 centimeters from the crema. As you get closer, 3/4 full, straighten up your ceramic cup, lower your jug, jiggle, 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 lift up and cross. And you've got yourself a basic love heart. So let's dust off the cappuccino with a bit of chocolate. And there we go. And before we do that, let's check the foam. A good cappuccino should have around 1.5 centimeters of foam. Flat white should have 0.5. And a well-textured milk should be meringue-like. So we'll be making a latte and a mocha. You can actually serve mocha in a glass, or you can serve it in a ceramic. So up to you guys. So now I'm just creating foam for both. With the latte and the mocha, because it's served in a glass, the foam should settle just above that arch. So what we're going to do, we're going to put 2 teaspoons of chocolate powder in your mocha. Some people like to add the chocolate first before the espresso. I actually like to add my espresso first and then chocolate powder on top, because I find the other way, chocolate powder will get stuck onto the bottom of the glass. Before we pour, we always need to incorporate the milk again. Give it a little bit of a swirl. And this is what we call splitting the jug by evenly distributing the foam. 45-degree angle, drop it in. Tip in the center, give a little bit of a jiggle, lift up and cross. And incorporate back the foam into this one. Give a little bit of a spin. And if there's any big bubbles, use your hand, cover the jug and give it a gentle tap. One latte and one mocha, and you can always just dust it off with a tiny little bit of chocolate on the side so you can show your latte out. If not, you can just cover the whole thing with chocolate, up to you. We'll be making a hot chocolate. You can either serve it in a ceramic or in a glass, it's entirely up to you. Put a little bit of hot water on the bottom of the glass. Hot chocolate, we'll add 2 teaspoons of chocolate powder. Give it a good stir. And in the meantime, while that's doing its thing, we can get on to milk steaming. 45, if you want to make it pretty. And like a latte, when it settles, it should just come on top of the arch here. So first of all, we are going to clean up the grinder. It's very simple. First things first, always make sure you shut off this gauge. If you don't and you lift this out, beans is going to go everywhere. Turn it on so it grinds through all the beans. All right, that's pretty much it. Turn the grinder off and always keep your beans in an airtight container. And we should store the beans in a dry, cool place, away from the sunlight, and never put beans in the fridge because it will sweat. When you're cleaning the hopper, you don't really need to put any detergent or chemical through. So all you need to do is just rinse it under warm water at least once a week and make sure it's dry. Because if there's any water dripping, it will go inside where the blade sits, and that can shorten the life of the grinder. And place it back, lid on. So after you've cleaned the hopper, remove all the grinds that was grind through. And then brush out any of the loose particles. Get rid of any put. And the easiest way to open up the baskets is get a spoon and flick it open. See, we've been making quite a few coffees, and soak the grip handles in lukewarm water or a little bit hotter than lukewarm. And we need to add a little teaspoon of espresso cleaner into the water. And guys, another thing to point out is you don't really need to put the whole thing in the solution water, only up to where the rubber bit is. All right, so we can get ahead and clean the shower screen. This is called angle brush. So give it a little bit of a brush, and now we can get our, remember our blind filter, the one with no holes? Load it with just half a teaspoon of chemical is more than enough. And what we need to do is lock it in. You can press whichever cycle and let it go. And repeat that 5 to 7 times until the water runs clear with no soapy residue. If you are actually constantly wiping and purging every time you use it, there should be no buildup whatsoever. What you can do is soak it very quickly in hot water. All right, so all you need to do now is just give this a wash. You wipe down your machine. So now clean the grip handles. Make sure we replace the handles back onto the machine because we need to keep equipment hot. All right, thanks guys. That's a wrap for us today. Hope you have enjoyed this video and walked away with some key skills and how to deliver a great espresso coffee.